Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time I left off with the fall of Corregidor. We are now on to General Stilwell's March from Burma. May 1st to 20th, 1942. March through the jungles. The march of Lieutenant General Joseph W. Stilwell and his party from Burma, which started on May 1st, 1942 in Burma, and ended on May 20th in Impala, Assam, will go down in history as one of the great feats of an American soldier. The general, wearing old-style campaign hat, is shown, here we go, right here, is shown at the head of the column, right here, followed by Lieutenant Colonel Frank Dorn and Lieutenant Richard Young, his two aides, and Major General Franklin C. Siebert. General Stilwell, Chief of Staff to General Simo Chiang Kai-shek, had been in command of Chinese 5th and 6th armies operating with the British in Burma. Yeah. They say that it'll go down in history, but a lot of people don't remember this, really. Interesting what they thought would go down in history and what actually did. But yes, the march that they did here is kind of crazy. They march an absurd distance, and like they said, he's wearing like old-fashioned style clothing for even this time. And so, yeah, but they do it. They get it done. I'm sure they enjoyed every minute of it. The long trek to India in safety. March 1st, 20th, 1942. Marching along together. General Stilwell's party walking across the sands, approaching a river in Burma. You can see right here. From the time that the heroic band left Wunthe until they reached the Chindwin River, the group was entirely out of touch with the world. In the spring of 1942, the Allies took what the general called a hell of a beating in Burma, which they lost to the Japanese, but he was still full of fight after the weary march of 140 miles through the wild Burmese jungles and the dangerous rivers, and declared Burma could and would be retaken from the Japanese invaders. You gotta give it to this guy. He's got some, major, yeah, screw it. I may be exhausted, and you guys may have taken a hell of a beating, but you know what? We're gonna get this back. Screw those guys. Some major, just screw off energy right there. The general lends a hand. May 1st to 20th, 1942. The march to India. This picture, one of the most unusual pictures in military history, shows Lieutenant General Joseph W. Stilwell carrying a sack of bully beef. Bully beef, never heard of that. From a spit across the Uyu River to his raft. An RAF plane had just dropped food to the Stilwell party, and the general was one of the first into the water and carried his share of the food. The story of the Burma campaign, as General Stilwell put it, was one of outnumbered forces giving the best they had against a foe with more equipment and with complete air superiority. The last a bitter pill for Uncle Joe to swallow. Yeah, like they said, you don't really see this very often where a general typically does what a common soldier would have done. You see it happen sometimes in history, but it's not super often. But the sign of a good general is a general that will do that stuff, because it'll get one thing from his men that another general may not have: complete loyalty. And if he was doing this, and they are saying he did, but he obviously could have not, and it's just hearsay. But if he did do this, it would make sense as to why these people were still following him, because hey, he's willing to do this, and so why can't I? A lot of good generals did that. A good example, he's not necessarily the best military leader, but he's a good leader, was George Washington. And that when a lot of people in the Revolutionary War were going to mutiny and leave, so he gives them a speech, and he's trying to read the speech because he had it written down on a some papers, and the troops can see him struggling, and he says, I do apologize. It's after this long fighting, it seems my vision is starting to go. And the idea was, well, see, look, I'm fighting so much that I've lost my vision for this country. You guys can, continue to fight, and it wins over the support of the men, and they don't mutiny. A lot of times, doing things that show, hey, look, we're all in this together, will win over your troops, because they will feel, well, you're one of them. So they understand that you understand what they go through. And that's really what you need to do as a general. It's just a fact of life, really. River fails to halt the march to India, May 1st to 20th, 1942. Marching through the rivers. For the first 3 days of the march through the jungles, after abandoning their transport, the Stilwell group walked up the murky waters of the Chaungui River. Yeah, you gotta be careful with a lot of these rivers. There's creatures in them, around them, that are extremely dangerous. You are in a big group, so you're less likely to be overtaken by these creatures, but it's still possible. So you gotta be careful. The animals here are very dangerous. A flying tiger. One of the strangely decorated planes used by American and Chinese airmen under General Stilwell's command in the campaign in China and Burma. Yeah, look at this. It's got a tiger face on it. And nowadays we think of old planes like this, but clearly from how this text is written here, this wasn't the norm. We today we would think of shark pattern or tiger, or the pinup girls, things like that. But yeah, it wasn't very common. And so when it did happen, I guess they thought it was kind of odd. British land in Madagascar. Diego Suarez capitulates. May 5th to 7th, 1942. British overcome French resistance. With the object of forestalling a Japanese move against the French island of Madagascar, which would have given the enemy a valuable base for naval and air operations in the Indian Ocean, a combined naval and military force made a landing at Courier Bay on the western side of the island on May 5th, covered by naval aircraft. The main objective was the important naval base of Diego Suarez on the northern tip of the island, which was occupied by British forces on the night of the 5th. On the 6th, an attack on Ansidanara on the south side of the bay was repulsed later in the day. British troops penetrated the town and forced the defenders to surrender. The pictures show, just making sure, above left here, an invasion barge ferrying a motor ambulance to the shore. And you can see that right here. There's the ambulance. Obviously to try to get troops to a safe position so you could take care of the wounded. Very important for many people. Trying to find the next one. The right here is the British commanders. And I'll try to point them out. I think that's the Rear Admiral right there. Rear Admiral Seifert and Major General Surges, which is either, I think is there. Or there. I'm not sure. But inspecting British troops after the surrender. A German ship. Where is it talking about this? A German ship. Okay, so here we go. This is where the German ship is. There's a German ship, which its crew had unsuccessfully tried to scuttle. Interesting. Is seen below. This is in the Diego Suarez Harbor. So they tried to scuttle this, but lucky for the Allies, the Germans weren't able to do it very well. And then in the bottom right here, we have French colonials who defended the island and later joined the Allies. Oh. So, yep, we see a lot of the French colonial troops here. And yeah, they would join the Allies because, well, they would be probably told to. They would say, hey, the people you're fighting for are not the French. We're the French, so fight for us. And they'd be like, okay, we're just following orders. And they don't want to get killed or anything like that, so they'll just follow the order. But this is definitely a war of the colonies. There are a lot of colonial fighters here. I mean, the World War I was very similar, actually, especially for the British. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Tell me what I could improve on. I always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.